All right, we are live here, breaking news mid-show with this amazing story that I want to talk here with my live audience, but wanted to cut out separately while we're doing this live. I'm just doing it live. F it, we'll do it live. But this news of Kevin Feige, shocker, just dropped, developing a new movie for Disney. This is big. As the Hollywood Reporter and others now are reporting that Kathleen Kennedy wants to pursue a new era of storytelling and knows what a diehard fan Kevin is. Made sense for these two extraordinary producers to work on a Star Wars film together. So, look, as we were about to get in this conversation, I want to just reset so I could easily splice this out. We got to look back and remember Star Wars is not in a good state right now because aside from Mandalorian, which I think is working because Favreau is such a big fan. And decided to find a little niche in a new area of this Western world with the bounty hunters. I think he's gonna actually find something cool in there. I have faith that looks like it's a creator who has vision, who's delivering us something. But what's problematic with Disney Star Wars as the feature length wrong, and I want to get you guys your thoughts. There's no vision, right? It's like JJ came in, and as I talked about earlier, Bob Iger CEO of Disney, just made a whole book talking about how he pretty much screwed over Lucas because they bought Lucas's treatments for the next trilogy. And then Iger sort of just didn't use it and then didn't tell me he wasn't going to use it. And then Lucas was like, why'd you buy my extra treatments if you're not going to use this stuff? It is kind of a weird handle that he could have done it better. And so this idea that, they would buy this stuff and then not even use it is kind of offensive, I think. And it just shows that as much as whether people hate Lucas or knock on the prequels, the dude's a genius and a visionary, and you got to respect him. And he's just not the best director. He's a better producer, storyteller. And then when you work with someone I feel like Favreau's going to do probably well, or Phantom Menace, there was probably some stunt guy who did that scene with Darth Maul. Ray Park and other actions made that scene what it was. Someone collaborated with him and made that Duel of Fates, that whole sequence work. And so when the right collaborators work with Lucas, I think great things obviously happen. But when you don't and you ignore him and then you go do your own thing and then you don't have someone who has a straight vision, your trilogy turns into Force Awakens and then Last Jedi and now whatever the heck Rise of Skywalker now could be. Now, don't get me wrong, it could work, right? The last one maybe kicks a landing, but I think we can all agree there's a little bit of a lack of vision in these movies. So to bring in someone like Feige, who's very good at figuring out an overall vision, who we know is always, he said it, he's been on record a lot, he is a fan of this material, he loves Star Wars. For him to come through in this now and do it is, to me, a very smart call. They need someone like that, and I think Kathleen Kennedy, it's why wouldn't they just let her go? I think she's made a lot of mistakes, and there's a lot of eyeballs on her because she did fire Lord Miller. She's made it clear, she's leading the ship. This is the ship. She believed in it. She did Solo, all this stuff, and a lot of it failed. So this is a smart way where they don't have to fire her, but it's interesting that Feige would come in and sort of, how is he going to work with her and then not take the credit? These are super producers is the real thing. I mean, you're a producer too.
Yeah.
How do these two superpowers then end up working together and then share the credit? Feels like that's very big of Feige, no? Don't they almost need him more than they need her at this point? Am I crazy?
I mean, they're all under the same umbrella.
from a business, they're in the same umbrella, and so they're in the same family, and you got to play with nice and with the brothers and sisters of your family. But I think that you have, as when you're talking about two producers working on something, I think what you end up doing is you end up having Kathleen do what she does great, which she has worked with visionaries in the past, and produced some really great stuff. But you get someone who is a visionary, someone who does understand story, someone who probably is a little bit more adept at taking a long-term vision of stories and making sure that these worlds are connected.
Yep.
And then you put her in what she does best, which is execution. Kathleen, that's what she's done in the past. That's what she came from when she was working with George Lucas, when she was doing all this other stuff. She was an execution, and she did that very well. But telling a story and expanding upon a universe as big as Star Wars, that takes actual, not just execution, but it takes a storyteller. And Feige has proven that he's
a storyteller.
He's a storyteller. Mm-hmm. He's a big time, big picture. You guys can play in your sandbox and give me your style, but he's a big time storyteller.
Well, and he's also good at finding talent and working with them. The only obvious big problem was Edgar Wright, which I think was a bad move, but then they managed to pull it off with Peyton Reed, who was a fan and did something well.
Yeah.
But finding Coogler, getting him on board to make Black Panther, and I believe they were hands off on that movie. I don't believe anybody was prepared for the amount of money and success that Black Panther did. That came as a surprise to everybody, and good, and that sort of surprised and made it more special. But I think he wisely let it go and said, you know what, all right, fine. you clearly are a fan of this material. I love what you're doing. You're bringing in really respectful people. Like, he clearly knows and has learned to sort of work with the right collaborators. Taika Waititi, I mean, come on. James Gunn, sort of, and figuring out how to get Gunn back. Like, the fact that he was able to get this talent to be involved, to be able to bring that to Star Wars, and then not be someone like Kathleen Kennedy, who clearly doesn't jive with the Lord Millers, who, made Spider-Verse the best Spider-Man movie ever. You fired them off their dream project, and then they went and won an Oscar off the best Spider-Man movie. While Marvel's making a Spider-Man movie, they topped them and did it even better. So karma stories don't get better than that. But to me, it's like that's just a sign that Kennedy's a little out of touch, and Feige clearly knows a little bit more how to deal with this. I think this is a brilliant move, but where I'm still stuck on is like how they work together. And so, yeah, I don't know how you handle that.
I mean, I think at this point you would end up being like, hey, check this out, man. Why don't you handle the logistics? I need you to take care of that. I need you to take care of all the paperwork and make sure that that everyone's paid and do their thing. I'm gonna bring on my director, and we're gonna do this thing over here. You handle that over there. I'm gonna handle this thing over here.
Yeah.
And we'll our names are on the credit. We all win. It's a win for the team. I think he's a ball player. I mean, he's got the baseball cap on. He's a ball player.
He does have
the thing about him is like he's masterful at directing other people and going through this. And like you said, he's a ball player, and everything that he's done has worked in his favor to further his career. And by creating the franchise that is Marvel, as popular as it is with Disney, it just made him like the rock star that he is. And now going into Star Wars, he's like, I'm just solidifying myself in history. And for all we know, he's a mad genius. And like 10 more years from now, we're going to see like a Star Wars Marvel crossover movie.
Oh, please don't.
Oh, now you lost me.
I'll put it in there.
I'm sorry.
Read the comics is there.
I had a nerdgasm.
I mean, it's like that Disney Infinity game where I always wanted the Star Wars and Marvel characters to come together, and they stupidly didn't let that happen. Anyway, Bunda, thank you for your comment here. Bunda said, thank you for the super chat. Conspiracy theory, Feige goes to Star Wars, leaves someone else in charge of Phase 4 because it sucks, gets praised for Star Wars. Phase 4 underperforming is because he's left. Dude, I just tweeted that at the same time because I agree wholeheartedly. It's a brilliant move. Look, it's so easy to fix Star Wars right now. Like, the fans are just dying for them to something new, original, fun. And there's enough filmmakers and stories in that universe and things to do that it's not that hard to just go anywhere but up than where they currently are. You can cast an amazing talent, a director, some awesome stars. Who's not going to want to be in a friggin' Star Wars movie? If you start over, you can rebuild the excitement and people will suddenly be like, all right, I'm into this one. You guys should check this one out. So if Feige does that, it's such a smart move for him to jump ship during Phase 4, which I've gone on record numerous times saying I think it's going to not do as well financially. It's just not. Doctor Strange 2, these movies are not going to be the numbers that Black Panther and Endgame were. There's going to be a dip down. Obviously, they're going to do okay, but for him to sort of see the writing on the wall and say, you know what, maybe I do become the base. I put my cap on, become a team player, because if I go save Star Wars with just one movie, that's all you need. That's all he needs. And then suddenly it's all on his shoulders, and then he's got more power. Like, yep, I can jump franchise to franchise. Then he's the CEO of Disney someday. He can do whatever the hell he wants. So you're right. Being a team player is probably a smarter move, to not fire the female executive who's built Lucas's legacy and been around working with Spielberg forever. Like, you don't want to disrespect Kathleen Kennedy. I get why they don't fire her. At the same time, I think she's failed, and other people would be sort of put to the fire a little harder. But you're right. And the conspiracy theory, I don't think is that far of a conspiracy theory. I think it is a legitimately smart move for him to find a little niche. He's probably got a good story as a fan. He could do the Knights of Ren or whatever cool plot line that's out there that he's like, you know what, we could do that finally.
Look at all the video games that they have for Star Wars. Like, a lot of them had some really good plots.
Knights of the Republic.
They had like was it Force Unleashed, or what was that one that was like the apprentice of Darth Vader?
Force Unleashed, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Those had great storylines, and people begged for those to be done.
I think Feige, first of all, I wouldn't be surprised if Feige, after doing the one film, if he doesn't to just add to the fire, to the Feige fire, if he doesn't take a director that he's worked with in the Marvel universe and brings on Robert Downey Jr. as a Jedi, and you know what I mean, just like in this new story, if he doesn't be like, hey, remember that stuff that I did? If he doesn't bring some of that in, obviously, and brings in some fresh talent, but
imagine that, Robert Downey Jr. as a Jedi and like some cool dramatic storytelling, like directed by Ryan Coogler. Like, come on!
Yeah, I want that now.
It's nothing on deck is anywhere near the excitement level. Game of Thrones trilogy, no thanks. Even Rian Johnson's trilogy, there was like all this excitement, and now with Last Jedi and now the Game of Thrones finale, all that excitement's out the window, and people are like, But Kevin Feige can come in, hit the reset button, do a completely new thing, focus on it, put all his Marvel energy into this. Dude, it's like a no-brainer. Now, of course, it could still suck. He could screw it up. But I think it's such a smart move. And it makes sense now the more, and we think about it, and you're right, the team playerness, like, of course, but there's just such a weird corporate structure of CEOs, like even Iger throwing people under the bus in his book. There's such a corporate thing of, like, people want the credit. Like, that's just how business and how money works. But if Feige's wise enough to see, like, no, yes, I'm getting the credit, but sure, I'll share it. People are going to read between the lines and know, oh, things got better when Feige stepped in.
Yeah.
And that's really going to matter more than what any other sort of him demanding certain things or saying. Only if Kathleen's pushed out, that's going to make him look like a bully. So you're right. He's doing the even better, smarter producer move of making things work.
You don't want to push out Kathleen. I mean, it would look bad on Lucas. It would look bad on Disney. It would look bad on Feige.
Spielberg, everybody.
It would look bad on if Kathleen was pushed out. Again, her working in conjunction with Feige is a better story, a better look, and it'd still produce a great product. But it's just one of those things that if you were to kick her out, no one would stand for that. There'd be a whole slew. That would be the story instead. That would be the story. Feige replaces Kathleen.
I would say he's like a masterful tactician. That's how he is able to execute all these things. Like, if someone believes in karma or past lives, he was like a Alexander the Great or something like that. He was. If he didn't find, I love theater, he would have been one of those guys trying to.
Alexander's story didn't end very well, but
well, if it did end well for him, it would have been bad for us. But anyways,
Channels was saying on commenters, Feige's producer and Dave Filoni as director. That'd be pretty amazing. That would make a lot of fans happy. And they would tell a good story because Filoni's did such a good stuff with the animated stuff. Michael Bryce asked a question. Thank you for the chat. Do you think the story being tied to previous movies hurts Star Wars? So much weight. Once they end it, people can breathe again and we can have a new story. Yes, I absolutely think we need to cut. And I think they're doing that. They've wisely realized that they have to, like, sort of start over. And I think Feige's seeing the opportunity now to come in and sort of be like, oh, cool, yeah, I have this idea. I have this idea. I'm sure he's been thinking about this for years. There's no way Feige's coming in with like, well, maybe. I'm sure has an idea. He's already clearly has a talent in mind. He probably already has a director in mind. He's got it all gearing. And so, yeah, it makes total sense that then he would come in and start over. Oh, yeah. And now it could be the Jabba the Hutt movie or something for all we know. But I think there's something really strong about the idea of doing a fully new thing in that universe in a different time period.
It's refreshing.
Something new to be able to then have a franchise out of or connect to later smartly, which I'm sure he would plant those seeds knowing. I mean, what do you guys think? Any speculation before we wrap this part of the video up?
I mean, well, my only speculation is that if like I said, Rey is a great hero, but I don't think, I'm going to take that back. Rey is a good hero for this particular franchise, but not a great hero in comparison to the heroes that we wanted to have for Star Wars, because a lot of people were like, well, how the heck does she have these powers already? And there's a lot of debate about that. Hopefully The Last Skywalker fixes that, which this is my thing that I wanted to get into was the defense. I defend JJ on Force Awakens all the time because I do believe he had a vision. I do believe he was going to explain why Rey was the way she was. There are some things in the Force Awakens that upon rewatching, there's some things there that I'm like, JJ had an idea. He had a vision. I feel like there was something that was discussed at the beginning that just went that way. And this is why we're in the mess that we're in right now. I would even invite JJ to work with Feige on a project, because I think those are two great visionaries that really would work well together.
JJ, do you really think? I feel like JJ's very mixed bag. It's like, because I mean, the first Star Trek was a great reboot, right? Yeah. He brought Star Trek back, and I thought he made me cry in the first opening of the movie when Kirk's dad's dying. Mm-hmm. Beautiful movie. I think that's fantastic. And then Into Darkness, he fell through the same traps that Force Awakens did, where too much nostalgia, and did the whole thing again and bumbled it.
But was that JJ as much as it was? There was also pressure to everyone wanted to see Khan for the second film.
Everybody. Yeah, but he should have known better.
Same though. It wasn't the same.
That's my point. Is that everybody wanted to see Khan for the second film? So I feel like JJ
gets
the short.
I didn't need.
Well,
to.
I mean, it's the biggest villain that Kirk's had to face. So how do you go into a sequel without facing your biggest villain? That's the sequel.
Well,
you start going
they're
toward
in the
against your
Kelvin
villain.
timeline. It's a whole opportunity to hit the reset button and start
It was,
over.
and again, just like with Force Awakens, he had a crazy line to walk. I mean, JJ, trust me, as far as a career is concerned, he got to go both ways. He got to go Trek and then Star Wars, and now he's apparently going into another franchise. So, but Feige is wise to bring us a new hero with a new storyline that could start a whole new series of 9 films. And bring us something that I saw in the chat. Someone said something from the Legends or something from the discarded Star Wars lore. There's a lot of characters and a lot of stuff that Feige can just mine right there. And he's really good at taking things. I mean, Infinity War that we got isn't the Infinity War that was in the comics, but he's really good at taking things like, I'm going to get a piece of this, a piece of this, piece of this. And this is our cinematic version of that. He could do that. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for him to pull from the books and pull from the games. And do that.
Well, yeah, and I'm looking for him to pull from the talent of directors and talent that he has access to, and the fact that it's like Kevin Feige's doing a Star Wars movie. Okay, I'll do a Star Wars movie. He's gotten everybody. Michael Douglas. I mean, Robert Redford. Like everybody wants to be Annette Bening and Captain Marvel. Who doesn't want to do a Marvel movie? They just got Angelina Jolie. I mean, like they can literally call anybody.
He's literally got people to come back for, and like people that said, "I'm not going to do the Marvel movies ever again," and they came back. He's like, "I'm going to call your name."
Yeah.
But in all honesty, Kevin Feige, like, I would see him doing Star Wars before Star Wars, like picking a storyline that doesn't exist, where everything that everybody knows, it does it way before that, like because that was a story far, far away in a time, way in the future and whatnot. He would probably be that guy that'd be like, you know what, let's do something before everything happened, so it's completely fresh.
Do you think they'll ever do a Star Wars where it's like in the time? Not so long ago.
A little bit far away.
A little far away, but not that far away of a galaxy. King of Scotland just sent a chat in. Thank you. Have you seen the Knights of the Fallen Empire game trailer? There's your Old Republic trilogy right there. I'll tweet the link. Yeah, I mean, that's my point. There's so much old stuff that they've now made not canon, games. There's so much stuff that you could even just mine that's already exists that you could repurpose or at least use as sort of the template for where you go. So, look, it's a space opera, like crazy action adventure. Like, how fun to use that formula and some of those creatures and make a new story. Like, there's opportunities there, and Feige has proven that. Feige hires good talent. He's pulled it together. People knock on Marvel, but dude, I can't think of anything commercially successful that pulled off what they did. It's mind blowing when you think about it. Yeah, it is a task and a half that they pulled that together. And I know people didn't like Endgame and rag on it, but whatever. Like, it was just they wrapped it up. They did it. They pulled it off in a way that wasn't like, it delivered what they were. Every kid was ever, when I was like, oh my God, they're all there fighting each other and doing it. And on your left, just like, they did it. And so the fact that he was able to pull that off, I think he's in a dangerous spot because I don't know how he's ever going to top that again in a Marvel. Well, no, that's my point. But if he jumps to Star Wars and does a new property, then he can. But Phase 4, look, I'm not trying to be so negative. People are like, come on, give it a shot. Of course, I'm going to watch everything in Phase 4. We all are. But Phase 4 doesn't get me excited. And it's because we came up from such a high of Endgame that it would be wise of him to like, all right, cool, I set all this up. I'll be back when Fantastic Four and X-Men are available. See ya. And then I'm going to go make Star Wars.
I'm going to let the bar drop a little.
Some time passed, some crappy Marvel movies. Oh, now I can come back and do it again. Cool. Because the reality is you need some time to pass. Like, you can't just do Marvel movies nonstop for 20 years. Like, you need to, like, walk away and then come back and reinvent it, you know?
It'll do him good. So in Feige we trust?
Feige we trust. Bundes says Game of Thrones pulled it off. What pulled? No, they did not pull that trilogy off. And that's why, and to case in point, with Benioff and Weiss doing the new trilogy, people were excited until they saw that they didn't pull off the finale. Now, was that their fault?
No.
I don't think it was. Like, when you learn more about it, George R. R. Martin literally put a story in place that they were like, all right, we're going to deliver what he promised. And knowing that they had to write to that endpoint, why would you slow it down? Why would you not be like, there's no way to
pull the Band-Aid.
Exactly. Like, there's no way to be.
Oh, you mean pulled it off? Like they pulled the Band-Aid off? Yeah, I totally agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like people are like, oh, they could have slowed down. No, they were like, dude, we know this ending's gonna suck. We're doing everything we can. We've delivered to a fever pace. but I want to go make Star Wars movies. I don't want to keep making Game of Thrones for the rest of my life. I miss my family. Like,
Yeah.
I could fly him to England instead of this annoying place we keep shooting at. Like, what am I doing? Like, I don't actually blame them as much as everybody else does. Like, they delivered the best they could given the material they had, and they wanted to be done with it. And
They gave us a lot of great years of great Game of Thrones, and that, if that's his story, and that's what JJR said, yo, that was my ending, and guess what? My books are ending the same way. They gave us what they had to give us, man.
Yeah.
I don't blame
But
them.
but the same extent to the point. Yes, there's so much they gave, and then people, I see comments in here like, "No way, Endgame was a downgrade from Infinity War." Blah 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 blah. But no, Endgame
Was closure.
It was closure. That finale was fantastic. The time travel stuff was a little silly, but it was fan service. It was just like a fun way to just give some funny, silly bits and have some point that. It is what it is. It's not perfect. I'm not saying it's perfect. It's not going to win the Oscar, but I think it was absolutely closure. So anyway, the fact that he was able to pull it off is what I'm commenting on. And I think for him to be able to sort of pause from Marvel, he'll still be there, he'll still be involved, but he can pretend like he's not as involved because he went to go do Star Wars. There's an amazing Hollywood narrative there where he can save Star Wars, make a hit movie. Now, if he fails on his movie, then that's a whole other story. But it almost doesn't matter because then he can just go back to Marvel and keep doing what he does. But for him to dip his toe in the Star Wars water and attempt to be its savior and bring it back to the great scale of where it could go, which, let's be honest, there's plenty of great directions Star Wars can go, and I think Favreau is proving that.
Yep.
And mind you, Favreau, Feige work tight together. I'm sure Feige has been in the loop on what Mandalorian's pulled off, but I think we're all excited and go on record. Favreau's Mandalorian feels like that's going to be fan service at its best. It's going to be a good standalone story. It's going to work as a series. It's like, Deadwood and Star Wars, like sold. Like that's the kind of stuff they need to do. So I hope that's what he's trying to envision. So exciting news. I'm just wrapping up this video because I want to keep our live stream going. Guys, tune into our live stream every Wednesday, 9 o'clock. But this broke, so I wanted to make a little standalone video while we were recording this. So thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe. And I'm going to go back to the live video. So next time, you can join us too. Thanks, everybody. Bye.